I'm Dr. Dempsey. This is my student Angel Orozco, who was doing an independent study project last year, spring 2021. And obviously the main thing on everybody's mind was COVID. So of course that's what we chose for our independent study project, was looking at COVID-related regrets among college students.
Hi everyone. So, like you said, I'm Angel Orozco, and the focus of the presentation will be on COVID-related regrets among college students. So the definition that's drafted from the literature is regret being a painful, cognitive, and emotional state of feeling, sorry for misfortunes, limitations, losses, transgressions, shortcomings, or mistakes. It may be sins of omission or commission, accidental or voluntary. Research has shown that most of the regrets happen in domains of education, career, or romance. And of course, COVID-19 affected all of these different domains in college students and ultimately affected their college experience. So the study that we designed was specifically targeted at JSU college students during the pandemic. Our study had 307 students, and 71.9% were women, 21.2% were men, 70.3% were white, 23.2% were black, 40.2% were 18 to 19 years old, and so 27.1% were 20 to 21 years old. And the data that we collected was in spring 2021 on survey. So the method that we used, we applied an informed consent sheet, and we used a questionnaire that me and Dr. Dempsey created. And the domains that we focus on were romantic, relationships, interactions with immediate family, interactions with extended family, interactions with friends, impact on finances, impact on grades, impact on social life, and beliefs about the seriousness of COVID-19. So we got some data collected from the survey, multiple choice questions, and then we have some long answer, and I extracted some of the long answer choices. So here we see a trend in romance. Mainly people weren't looking for relationships in this period of time, and people were also less likely to meet people around campus and less likely to meet people in class. So this person says, during the pandemic, my boyfriend and I broke up and got back together because dating has changed so much that I would rather stay with him and look for someone else. This person says, I joined Bumble, the dating app, but had very little success. The people I matched with were not what I was looking for. I felt like a waste of time, but I am proud of myself for branching out of my comfort zone. So again, those common themes that we see, people not being able to interact with others. So immediate family also followed similar trends, and you see this across other relationships. So some people report that it didn't affect their relationship, while others, the other big things that we saw were hanging out less often and more of a relying more heavily on text messages to communicate with family. So this person says, my grandparents weren't able to attend my high school graduation due to COVID, and I will never forget that. So you also have a lot of students that they were, say, seniors. So by the time that the study was made, they were freshmen in college. So that was fresh on their mind. Another person said, I wish I was able to see my family more. My aunt actually died from COVID, and I wish I was able to see her more before she died. This other person says, I wish our bond could have been stronger. It never was, but I think COVID made it worse. That's unfortunate that some people did have these experiences. There were many of them. Extended family also follows the same trends. Not being effective and having less time to spend with them and having to rely more on messages. This person, and of course, since it's extended family, then you also get into traditions that get affected by restrictions. This person says, we were unable to have family reunions because of the pandemic. We were also unable to attend my uncle's funeral and my nephew's graduation in COVID. Again, missing out on those important life events. This person says Thanksgiving was virtual and not in person last year. This person says, my family was not always been close to see each other, but I believe this pandemic has humbled me into a person who seeks relationships with family and friends before anything else. So we did get some of that response types where people did have positive experiences, and that also goes along with people that say that they were not affected. Those people tended to say that they had positive experiences like this person. So friends, again, following the same trend. This person says, I've not been able to see them all during the pandemic, and although we do message each other, The interaction is decreasing because of how burnt out we feel. And this next person says, I regret not being able to go to concerts, vacations, etc. The pandemic just cut down on things we were able to do. But also with us being in college, it also cuts down on time drastically. With the pandemic changing classes, more time is needed to study. So with friendships, you have more strain because people weren't able to go back to their hometowns, especially being college students. So they had that boundary. On top of that, you had students that had to dedicate more time to, say, studying or other life events because of COVID affecting that life classes. So we got a lot of interesting data here. So people generally said that they couldn't pay attention during video lectures and that they couldn't concentrate on schoolwork, being switched over to online classes. So this person says, it made me feel more isolated. I love in-person classes and seeing my friends often. Another says, not being able to do an internship. Another says, not being on campus for classes has affected my grades, but has made me want to be in class more. And the last one says, I sit at home on my computer and I feel like I'm not even a part of the college. So again, this just ties all together with the college experience. And for grades, so what we saw were that people were reporting that their grades stayed about the same, and under that we see that they actually got a little bit worse. And on the other side, we see that people do a lot better in person and online classes, and under that we see that people say that they do a little better in person than online classes. So overall, people missed being in person. And the financial situation is really interesting too, because we got a wide array of responses on this. So up here we have people saying that they did not have a job and they were not looking for one. Here we have they had a job, but the hours and schedules did not change. And this person, and these responses were, I had a job, but my hours increased because of COVID. So again, just a lot of variation. This person says, I wish that I worked more because now that I don't have a job, it's all part of the college materials. Another says, I wish I'd been smarter and paid off everything when I had income from my job. And the last says, instead of being on campus and meeting new people / focusing solely on my grades, I've had to work ridiculous hours in ridiculous settings and have very little experience and focus on college. So all of these domains affect the college experience. And as you see, most people say that they were definitely affected, and the next one is they were a little affected. And we did find a moderate correlation between COVID and how much they changed their daily behaviors between fear and COVID. This person says, I like being able to have a reason not to go out because of my social anxiety, but I would have liked to meet new people and get the college experience everyone talks about. Another says, due to COVID, it has affected my college experience, but now allowing me to have a marching season as my first year as a ballerina, and it hindered my first year in Alpha O Pi because we were very limited on what we could do. And this next experience really related to me because this is somewhat my situation. I'm a transfer student and did not know anyone at JSU at the time of transferring. I believe the concern of contracting COVID and not as many social activities going on campus. I felt it was really hard trying to form friendships and having that college experience. So the conclusions. Next on the study, I have to code all of the open-ended responses. And we might do a follow-up sample since this was conducted a year ago. And a year ago, we believed that COVID wouldn't even be a thing in a couple months. But here we are, and the situation has changed a lot. The limitations were that it was a self-report data, and it was a convenient sample since we used JSU students and psychology students. But overall, it gives us an interesting look at how the pandemic is affecting JSU students. And I'd like to thank Dr. Dempsey for helping me and the psychology department.
Questions for our speaker?
How did you distribute this survey? Like, I noticed that there was a lot more women, white women, that took it. So was it primarily on like social media or something like that?
It was distributed among the psychology classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there any challenges that you had to overcome while doing this research?
On a personal level, I suppose the biggest difficulty was actually reading the responses, because these are a lot of things that, and I don't know, it was simple to carry out the study, but on a personal level, again, it was difficult reading some of these responses because there were things that we oftentimes don't like to think about, I suppose, especially with everything that's going on. But as you can see, there were some powerful responses that people gave.
Yeah.
Did you share this research with the Student Success Center?
No.
Yeah, so you talked about coding like open-ended questions. So are you like planning to use one coder or multiple coders?
Just one coding.
Just one
Just
coder?
one, yes.
Other questions?
What year are you in your degree plan?
I'm a senior.
Do you think this would be something good to maybe replicate in a year from now to see if anything's changed?
Definitely, I do think so, especially since we don't really understand how long this is going to take, and I think it's definitely been affecting students differently as it progresses.
All right, let's thank our speaker.